Hello and welcome back to the tavern. I am your wonderful host and dungeon master, James, and tonight for our talk show, as usual, we bring a guest. And our guests are out there from anything from players, game masters, creators, those types of fun things. And tonight is a special guest of mine. And the reason I say it's a special guest is because I have been talking with Jay now for almost a year when he was I will say, a very small company compared to where you are now. I think you've grown it tremendously with the amount of products that you're offering now. Uh, I am a huge fan of immersion techniques and things that allow you to grow and feel like you're being actually consumed into the story and into the world. And that is where Jay caught my interest because he has these amazing candles. And we also were supporting at that time our wonderful friend Kendra, who runs Fabled Flame, who do these D20 candles. There's something about scents in the game that I'm just excited about. And, I'm 6 foot, 210 pounds, go to the gym 4 to 5 days a week, and I'm sitting here gooey about candles. It's a weird concept here, people, I tell you. But it was amazing to have Jay come on the show. And what a cool time to come where we've done a kind of a rebuild of the show. We've now created it to be more of a immersion show where we're going to talk about your character that you're going to bring on board. We're going to talk about the amazing things that Vile's doing. And then, of course, we're going to roll into our inspiration. So before we start our scene, Jay, just give us a little bit about who you are and what Vile is.
Sure. Thanks for having me, first of all. I
Yeah.
am Jay. I am co-founder of Viled. We do these one-shot boxes that comes with everything you need to have a cool one-shot adventure. It has a candle. It has wooden miniatures. As you can see here, we print our own wooden miniatures. We have lore cards, which are used to make adventures and stories. We have maps and dice. Everything that you need, crack the box open, you can start playing. They're all themed. So each box has its own special quirk and immersion content thing with it.
So before we jump in, now let me rephrase that. I'm not going to do this because if I do this, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole, and we're never going to get to what I believe is really the fun, one of the most fun parts of the tavern the way it is now. For everybody who's brand new to our Tavern Talks, the way the show works is the first portion, we're going to find out who Jay brings to the tavern, or rather, who Jay brings to the world. And for people who love what you hear and are willing to help us out, as a community, not single person, please don't believe that you have to be the single creator for this, but our wonderful artist, Brina Luna, has offered her services at only $25 to bring any character that we raise the $25 for during the show to life. And not only are you going to get not only are we going to raise the character and get an actual portrait of it, you are going to get a Google Drive link at the end of the show that is going to allow you to, within a week or two, grab that. And as long as you check back with it before the month, any link that you have, you're going to be able to grab those characters out and use them for your own games. And if you miss out, it's not a big deal. We have a small Patreon fee that gets you all the characters that will ever be created in the tavern for a simple $3. So that is my pitch. That is the only pitch I do for the evening. And yeah, I think it's great. Finally, our one and only title sponsor right now for our show, Tavern Talks, is the wonderful people down at Valorhood. And I don't know about you, it's been many, many years since I've been able to grow an amazing, beautiful beard like this. And I will tell you, their 6 cents, once again, we go back to the smell of things, I am in love with. Like, I can't wait to get my full beard box is on its way here. My wife hid it from me because she's like, it's going to you for Christmas. And I was like, girl, I need that. So I have all their 6 cents so far, and it is amazing. And you can, if you pay attention to the screen, you can actually get a free 10% off discount just by using Misfits name. So that's pretty cool. Thanks, Dollarhood, for allowing us to do that. So tonight, if you look at our image, we can see a tavern and a boat. So as we start up scene 1 with Jay. We're sitting on the side of a small village, a fishing town known to many. People rise early, head out on their boats, and venture out into what is known as the Bay of Eldoon. Sitting in the center of the marina rests an old and immaculate ship in a small place of respite. After many hours out on sea, the fishing boats return to the shores, and as you can hear the crashing waves, each person unloads, one by one, all the fish that they gained for the morning. Not only is this a known fishing location, but it's one of the few locations on the coast where actual large ships can safely unload cargo and push them deeper into the continent itself. But our main focus here is this respite location. And as one of the men get off the boat, weary from a long day out at sea, he heads over to the place where he knows the best, a small tavern sitting in the edge of the marina. And outside that marina is a beautiful boat that sits there, has not left in years. We've never seen it out on sea. But it's taken care of as if it's never been touched. And I open the door, slowly look inside. And Jay, what do I see in your tavern?
A bustling tavern, many floors lit by lanterns, kind of like your background. Giant ale barrels behind the bar, and this one tall, burly, tattooed human in his black shirt with a white apron, and he's sitting behind the bar and he's serving drinks. Meanwhile, waiters and waitresses are running all around trying to catch people up on orders and ordering all this delicious food. Entertainers, there are stages in the corners of each of the in each corner of the building. Entertainers, you have poets, musicians, actors, actresses, all the like.
All right. So I'm walking into something that probably I've not seen in a while. I'm from another fishing village, not near here, but had heard of a famous tavern. The boat was pushed out a little bit out of my normal route, and I figured this would be the best place to stay over for the evening while the seas are a little rougher than they normally should be. The man walks up to the bar and he sits down and he asks for a drink. He asks for the local brew or the local wine, whichever you have. Do you have a name for that?
It's just they're called the ale.
The ale. All right. Now this man is. You said he's tall, burly. He's wearing a black shirt with an apron over top of it. Anything that now that I've gotten very close to you that I would recognize or catch interest on your face, hairstyle, anything kind of like jewelry, anything I'd notice.
Yeah, so he has piercings in his ears, and he has various necklaces, chains, medallions on his neck, and you notice he has these tentacle like tribal tattoos. He has his sleeves rolled up and they're just run through his arms, and some of them come up his neck. It all looks like one continuous tattoo that's covering his entire body.
Almost like a giant squid is just consuming the inside of his body.
Exactly.
Fantastic. So what is the name of this tavern keeper?
So this is the Crooked Hook.
Crooked Hook. All right. And our tavern owner is
Brine Balthor.
Brine Balthor.
Bryne, kind of like I don't actually know the actual definition of a brine. It's something with water.
Yeah, it's something with water. I know what you're talking about. For people that are interested, brine is definitely a seafaring word that people use. I have to do some research real fast, but I'm not going to continue that one just yet. So,
Yeah.
Brian's boat is sitting outside, and this boat has not seen any sort of action or use in many years. But it does give image and understanding that at one point Brian was on the water. So, what would you say was his turning point? Why would Brian have given up the seafaring thing?
Brian left to join the ocean after having a not so great childhood, not a great family dynamic. So he ended up leaving on his own, building his own family in a pirate crew known as the Blood Sails. Something tragic happened to his crew, and he gave up adventuring for a while, only to return to it again after many years with a new group, a few different groups actually. And you know how adventuring goes. People leave. Some people don't always make it through the perilous fights, and after a while, Brian got older, and he wanted to settle down in one spot, find a place he could call home, and live an easier life.
So he, at this point, his adventuring days are over. It's time to kind of calm down and find a new relaxed lifestyle, So I'm guessing that would mean Brian is, in D&D terms, let's put it this way. In D&D terms, Brian is a seasoned adventurer then, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So tier level wise, are we talking 5 to 10, 10 to 15? Did he make it to the full 15-20 range? Where are we seeing Brian at this moment?
Yeah, probably around somewhere between like 12 and 18-ish.
Okay. It's funny, and I'm gonna kind of do a little bit of a trail off. So Heroes of Evermore was on our show a while back, and they do an immersion with the Kraken. So now that Brian has, these squid-like tattoos on him, and he's a higher level adventurer. And I'm curious because there are many ways you can take, seafaring characters. What class or classes is he at this point if he's sitting in that 15 to 20 range?
He's straight warlock.
Straight warlock. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing at this point we're talking Old One?
No, it's the Fathomless.
Fathomless. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Does Brian have any, let's say, not markings, because we've already asked about stuff like that. Does he have any treasured items that he either keeps on him or that he has found through his adventures that he might tell the local people that are, as he's telling stories?
So he has one of the many necklaces he has on. One of them stands out, and it's this tiny orb. It looks almost like a small sphere, like a rock or something.
Mm-hmm.
Except as you look closer, it's a ball of water that seems to just be suspended at the end of this pendant.
Okay. Interesting. So that, personally, me as a game master, I'm thinking all sorts of crazy stuff right now. Like, if I shatter this thing, will it open a portal to the realm of water? Is this a never-ending push to water? Like, do I have access to water at all times? Exactly. It sounds ominous, right? But I'm saying, I'm like instantly. You tell me you have a necklace around your neck that literally is a ball of water. I'm thinking so many ways of like, what can I do to really make this fun for the character? Um, you know, I started rewatching and listening to old Critical Role episodes and some of the other RPG, Superstar podcasts, those types of
Right.
things. And the one that caught my attention and brought me now to this comment is I had never listened to season one of Critical Role. And I'm
Okay.
going back through and I'm seeing, so Keyleth gets this fire uh, like gem that if she crushes it, her hands turn into flames. And I'm like, this is really giving me that same vibe. Like, if I just push the pendant, or if I pray to the pendant real fast, will I erupt into an earth, a water elemental? Like, what are we doing here? This, to me, I'm coming up with crazy ideas, but that's
so
because
funny.
that's what I do. But yeah.
So funny story. Brian
Yeah.
actually doesn't know what it does.
Oh,
When
okay.
he was younger, he stole that from an old lady, an old woman,
Yes.
and
Thieves for real.
never
Never
figured out what it was.
So, one question I love to ask, because I've seen both happen now. Was Brian a character that you created for the tavern, or is this a loved character that you played for many years outside of it?
So, the Crooked Hook Tavern was just a silly fill-in tavern that I created for one of my games a long time ago, and it was just one of the only ones I could remember because the name was so simple.
Right.
And I liked the word crooked in it, and I don't know why.
It works.
And we had a birthday party for my friend. I pretended to be Brian at the Crooked Hook, serving drinks, and that's kind of how they were meshed together. Brian has always been a character of mine, one of my favorite characters, but that's how they tied the two together, really. So
very nice. I expect one day when at a con where we meet, I'm getting served by Brian, and I'm expecting you to be dressed like that man. Like, I'm not going to tell you I'm not. But no, one thing I really do, I love those stories, because the funny thing about D&D, and the one thing that has many times brought me back to the game, is the fact that these stories don't die.
Oh yeah.
I can come up, I can talk to friends of mine that I told stories with in high school, and to me now, I'm gonna age myself a little bit. That was 15 years ago. 15. Yeah, 15 plus years ago, and I can still bring some of those moments back up. My first time venturing into the Sunless Citadel in 3rd edition, and the first thing that my warrior did was I literally pancaked a kobold to a wall with a tower shield, because that was back when, if you had monkey grip, you could wield a tower shield in one hand, and that was literally the only thing he had. First goal was to get the feet for monkey grip, and as soon as I had monkey grip, I wielded a great sword in one hand and a tower shield in the other, and that's all he did. And I ran at a kobold and pushed straight against the wall, and he blew up into but like I said, I mean, I did that when I was 16, 17 years old. It wasn't
and you always remember it. I know.
You always remember it. Like, my original character that I've been playing and writing about since I was 8, still I use today.
Wow.
Dakin Osriel was my original character. I originally started as like a writing prompt on an online website. We were talking, it was a Dragon Riders of Pern community, and I don't know why Dakin was always just a name that I loved, and that character has never died. I mean, he's been used in multiple games. His last name has changed a couple times just because I didn't want to reuse Osriel, because I thought that was extremely cheesy. But his name has not The name has never died. My dog's name is Dakin. That is
That's so cool.
it was hilarious because my wife, she was like, "Why'd you name the dog Dakin? It sounds too much like bacon." I was like, "There's a long history and story to this. You can't kill it." So over time, that's how all that happened. So it's lovely to hear other people that have had those same experiences where the characters and how much pride gives me to open that book back up. The one thing I loved is the last two people that have brought characters that they've played multiple times through the years, and then listening to those stories and listening to those adventures. It's literally, you know, the old war veteran that's sitting at the table telling his war stories, and how cool it is that we can do that over and over
Definitely.
again, right? Um,
So does
so
your character change the classes and stuff every time you played?
no, he's always been. So Dakin wasn't the one that I played with the Sunless Citadel. It was a different character.
Okay.
Dakin has always been a paladin. Dakin has never been anything but a paladin. For once we realized that there was such things called a dragon knight, he became a dragon knight, and that was kind of the end of his character. And this last year, he became a dragon zealot rather than a dragon knight, or egalaton, through GUI Cube, which is the company that I write for. They said, "Hey, we're going to take your portrait. We want to know the background of the character you want to bring to our world." And I said, "Oh, I've only got one, but he's coming to the world." So they have what is called being blood touched, which is kind of like you are at such a deep level of magic connection to something. Well, my character was magically connected to dragons as if he was born into it. So he's now got like one eye is a dragon's eye. He's got scales down the left side of his face. But they have two different versions of dragons, the same as Forgotten Realms with Tiamat and with Bahamut. My character worships both. So he literally has an emblem of good dragons on the left side, an emblem of bad dragons on the right side, and his goal is just to protect the race of creatures, no matter if they're good or evil. And when I told the GUI Cube artist my story, he was like, "We don't like people connecting to dragons, but the amount of connection your background, I love dragons so much." That's kind of where I fell into my love of playing games and stuff like that.
Right.
That it's how I connected. So was Brian always a warlock?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know warlocks, I mean, for a long time, especially lower editions, they weren't the same type. Like it felt different in third edition to be a warlock than it does in fifth edition. Fifth edition, I feel like you're a dark sorcerer.
Yeah.
You have some extra cool abilities, but really you're a dark sorcerer. Here we go. That's thank you for the wonderful chat message, but cool. Anyway, we have a bot, people. It's fun.
We always have. He's always been a warlock. Actually, I picked the class and the archetype before I even created Brian, and I was like, this was actually back in when the Fathomless was Unearthed Arcana. I forget what the name of it was called before that. And I read it. I was like, "Oh, this is so cool!" So I drafted. I'm
gonna have to look that one up because I remember it, but I don't think I took a lot of time.
It was like
to research it.
Something, the deep verse, or I don't remember what it was.
Is an entity deep in the ocean, the nearly infinite amount of water in the world. Okay, so yeah, it's the Kraken. I mean, really, if we think about it, I hate to say that, but but there's a couple There's a couple different versions of warlocks that if they just read that same way. I don't know. I really like warlocks. I like to see how people bring warlocks to life. And I am that game master that I will play your patron to the T. So be prepared if you bring a warlock to my game.
Yes.
I'm the same way with paladins and flex though too. So, anytime you're messing with anything that's higher powered than you, there's a good possibility that if you are going to veer away from what that higher power means, you're going to get either a nice little talking to, or something is going to happen in your game that you're either going to have to repent for or decide a different path. Brian sounds like a lot of fun.
It's great. He's like super heavy on role play, which is so much fun.
I know. Does he have an accent? I'm curious. Does he have a voice?
He does, but I can never do it consistently. I am the worst.
Don't even start. I mean, everybody says they're the worst.
When people
I've been streaming now for almost 2 years, and I barely do. I do like 6 decent voices. I won't even say they're good. I do decent 6 voices, and I rotate them. And half of the time, I rotate them when they're not supposed to be rotated. I was like, crap, my voice just went too low or too high or whatnot. But
I was playing this one shot one time, and I just made this quick character, and he was like a short halfling fighter because I wanted to be really tiny but super strong. And I originally wanted him to sound like something around Mickey Mouse, and he ended up going towards like Goofy and Scooby-Doo towards the end. So,
no, that's great. I mean, those, I think, yes, they're goofy, but I really do think that they bring a character. And I tell people, you don't have to use voices in D&D, but there is something about being able to think and act as a character that just makes things different. Mind you, here we go, back to the same caveat last episode and last week's. That doesn't mean you abuse that for purpose. You can't just say, well, my character would do that. I know you people out there. I've seen a few of you. I've played with a couple of you, and we have a conversation after that. But really, my goal is all about telling the players' story through their actions and interactions. And I really think that this tavern concept kind of allows you to tell that story, telling the story of Brian. Is there anything about Brian that you would say is like his most triumphant victory?
So one of his fondest memories is kind of how he got put on this path was, as I said, he had a troubled childhood. And so it so happened that in his hometown, a group of legendary pirates ended up docking there. They weren't raiding the town, but they were docking there for whatever reason, going out, enjoying themselves on land for a bit, only to set sail a few hours later. Brian snuck up on the ship, stole whatever he could, food, money, clothes, things like that, and left, only to get caught by the captain. Caught by the captain, thrown in the bottom of the ship. They set sail, never saw his hometown again, and he actually made friends with the hands of the captain, who ended up taking a liking to him, letting him go eventually, and that's how he started his own crew. And that has always been one of his notable victories, because I mean, who knows what would happen.
Right, yeah, you were sitting in the brig there, man. I mean, you could have sat there and rotted for all that captain probably thought. He was like, oh, he's done. He's not going nowhere. I'm not worried about him. And then of course now you get to the point where you're, it seems that you said the first mate is the one that rescued him.
Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
like a Star Lord brain
Yondu
farting.
type.
Yandu, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of connection. That's cool though, because those I think that and that really allows your game master a lot to play with, because now you can bring, that character back, and you can connect those two through another story, through another adventure, and it's definitely an interesting dynamic that you play with very easily and can bring a lot of different directions to a game. Speaking of that, let's move on to why we're here, shall we? Jay, you have been, as we said at the beginning, you've been working on things for quite a while, and it all started with these amazing candles. Uh, and not to say that it's not one of my most favorite, and I don't know why. There's a weird thing about it. The logo that the candles have on them, and I'm just like, this is so cool. I don't know why, but it connects so well. Uh, and then you brought these things to life. Now, for our friends online right now, I'm not opening this yet. And the reason I'm saying that is because I haven't had time to open it. Uh, I did open it for a moment, so I'm not going to lie to people. But that was to show off something that Jay and I are working on, which is, ow, my knee, Misfit pens. They're there. But Misfit pens. So if you want to get Misfit pens, I need to know, because I need to know how many we need to order. Because Jay has offered his services to help us get these. So if you're interested in getting a little Misfit pin to hang out with, to represent us at your local con, or you want to put it on your book bag, whatever, however you carry pins, we would love to get those for you. We just need to know how many to purchase and whatnot. So yeah. And speaking of these, because it kind of gives us a little segue, is you also have, this is where you create all of your monsters and the wood pieces, right?
Right.
So how does that work? Like, where do you get the artwork? How do you get it to create like this? Like, come on, give me some insight.
So we work at the community for every box. We have someone that writes the content, and then we have an illustrator. And it's usually different. We work with them for however long it takes. The content creator creates the locations, so each box comes with locations, creatures, and NPCs. Sorry.
He's getting teary-eyed, guys. He's getting excited.
So you get monsters, and here's the illustrations.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so you get little illustrations. So, monster cards, super simple to just set up next to your game table.
Right. Then you have locations with adventure hooks on them. And it's really hard to see with my
it's okay. If you really want to see them, you're gonna have to buy it. I'm sorry, guys. This is how that's gonna work.
We have various pictures around our Instagram and our website that kind of give you an idea. And then we have NPCs with different personality traits and alignments on the bottom here. And so,
oh, cool.
What you do with these cards, they're all color coded: red, green, and blue. You take your colored deck and you separate them into 3 piles. Shuffle them up, and then you draw it from the top. And whatever you get is your prompts to make your one shot. So I'll have the Great Stone Barrier with Lord Marlon Maywood with the White Walker.
So you have definitely
White Walker
interested me, because we have a new show that's going to be hopefully starting here in the next couple of months, called it actually was one of the original creators for it was used to run it over at Last Game Board, and since then we've now moved it to our we're going to try to move it to our channel, and it's going to be a fully improv D&D game every week.
Perfect.
And we might have to do a little bit of a collab here for this, because this would work wonders.
Absolutely.
Because our GM would get the if we do it with you, we'll give them one of the cards that has the NPC on it, one of the cards has a location on it, one of the cards has the plot hook on it, and then what we do is whatever level that is, and I'm telling you, this is gonna be the crazy thing because we don't watch how this thing's created. We go to D&D Beyond. I hit the randomizer at whatever level I need it to be, and I create 4 characters. And then on top of that, all of our characters are then picked out of D4 by the 4 players that are playing that night. So they don't even get their character sheet until the time they log in.
That is incredible.
It's a lot of fun. I did it as a player for them a couple months ago, and I had a blast. I had an Aarakocra monk with like no wisdom. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. Like, I almost played I could played a bard better but I was a monk, and you have to, you go with, and you don't get any magical items or anything like that, so it's only whatever the starting equipment is for that rate or for that class. But
you make it work.
You make it work, right? You make it work, and it was ridiculous because even though we all were these random weird group, we somehow made it make sense that we were this group of traveling musicians. Even though I was a monk, and I was like, sure, let's do this.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but no, it'd be an awesome collaboration with you to do the one shot and give you guys some playtest material that's online, showing off your stuff.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
We might just have to have you, like, I'll give you whoever the GM is for the week, I'd have to send you a shipping address, and you just have to ship 3 cards. Like, literally, you could randomize cards and be like, this is this is what you're running this week because this is all you have, as like additional cards. Like, I don't want you to send boxes out to every GM. Really, that's ridiculous and expensive.
That's
but
cool because well, the next part to go along with this.
Thank you, Yankee.
These can be combined with all the other sets. So your NPC deck, your location deck, and your encounter deck just keep growing and growing. So it's always different.
Yeah, that's really cool. Man, I've literally got this thing sitting right here, people. Sitting right here. And I can't look at it yet. I promised myself I wouldn't. Which, funny enough, like, when I opened it, it was just... It's like that frilly paper, and I don't want to dig into that yet because it's going to go everywhere.
Everywhere. It is all over my floors.
We'll do an unboxing properly on Instagram, hopefully this week or this weekend. But I'm not actually going to open it until I have time to do an unboxing. So keep an eye out on social media for that. Yeah. So kind of give us a rundown. So besides the cards, what else do you get in these crazy boxes?
So along with the cards, you get these really cool maps. And so for each location, we have maps that come with them, and they're tiny little cards, not big enough to play on, but it gives you an idea of it's really hard to see. It gives you an idea of
I saw it,
that you can use to describe with, or you can lay it out yourself, something like that, so you don't have to make one up. And we get those wooden miniatures, 2D miniatures, so they are super easy to organize. This blur.
No, it's okay. Yeah, your camera's.
There we go.
It's the wonders of the green screen, right? Oh yeah, no, look at oh my god, look at the detail on those things.
So
wow.
Yeah,
those
really
are cool.
And so they come with these wooden bases with cool designs. So this is like cracked ice.
Right, yeah.
They're sized, they're scaled for like the normal tabletop 28 millimeter or whatever size that is. So you have your huge creature here, and then your medium creature here, size comparison.
Hey, sometimes that is the intimidating fact alone, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, this I've got my Fomorian right here, and you drop him on a screen with everybody else, you kind of freak out a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Or if you're really good at you wanted to spend that $400 for the the actual Tiamat size, and you're like,
Yeah.
no, I don't want you to ever drop that on my table. Like, I will cry and scream and run away.
That will be the
But
last
yeah.
time I ever play.
See, my thing is, that's my only downfall, right? Things like that where they're now putting things in actual like gargantuan sizes. Uh, I'm only going to use this thing once.
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
and then it's going to go on my shelf for the rest of my life because when am I ever going to go play against Tiamat again? You know, when you fight the god, there's no reason to fight the god again. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's kind of those factors. Like, I like a lot of smaller miniatures and things that I can reuse over and over and over again. But then again, I also saw the full-sized Astral Dreadnought, and I was like, do I really need this, or do I just really want this because it looks amazing?
Oh, I
So
get it.
I do like the idea that you've got, the sizes difference really has developed to make the game feel a lot more.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it makes the game feel a lot more real on the fact that there's a real terror. If I'm fighting a dragon, he's the same size as my character. I'm kind of like,
Eh,
he's not really